Well, it's the morning of April 19th. This is a Badger honor flight. We're at the airport in Madison, Dane County Regional. I am Bill Green, a Vietnam veteran, and it's finally my turn to take this flight to Washington with my son Scott. We're being well cared for by hundreds of volunteers, people that are being awfully nice to us today. They had colored lights on the walls, all red, white, and blue. It was amazing. And Crane was holding an American flag out over the drive-in at the terminal. And when we got out and walked in, there were people on both sides of the door, about 3 feet apart, welcoming us to honor flight. I don't know any idea how many volunteers. We went in and registered, got our pictures taken. At 6 o'clock, there was a ceremony and a presentation for veterans. After the ceremony, we filed onto the airplanes. Security was very easy today, and Badger Honor Flight people made just a walk-through. Departed right on time at 7 Central Time, and then it was time to descend into Washington National. We came in low with the Pentagon just on our right. We got some pictures of that, and then landed the airplane right on the end of the runway. And as we taxied up to the gate, a fire truck gave us a water salute by shooting water over the entire airplane. It was a real surprise, very special. And then I looked out to the sides, and there were flags of all the services lined up on our approach to the gate. And the crew and the captain of the aircraft all the way out were extremely nice to all of us. They were playing patriotic music for us, and the honor flight people in Washington, D.C. were just as nice as the ones in Madison. And we're now getting on the buses to begin our tour of Washington, D.C.'s memorials. I'm just looking at the Marine Memorial, and what little bit I know about it. Photograph was taken on top of Mount Suribachi, and these 6 Marines were raising the second flag at the peak of the mountain. It was still in the enemy's hands at the time, but a contingent of Marines had fought their way to the top. And there are 6 in this memorial. Only 3 of them survived Iwo Jima, and they became famous. That photograph is the most famous picture probably ever taken in the military. He sent it to the papers without knowing what was on it. And when they saw it, somebody immediately recognized it as an iconic picture of the war. And it is, no question about it. It's iconic. It's unbelievable. We visited the Arlington Cemetery in Virginia, which had once been owned by Robert E. Lee. There were autograve sites everywhere else in Washington, from Union dead and Confederate prisoners who had died in prisons. And they opened Robert Lee's plantation as a cemetery. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is in the cemetery, and we went there for a changing of the guard by members of the 3rd U.S. Army Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. The tomb was created to honor all those who have perished and are unknown. And there are thousands of unknown soldiers from World War I on. The process of changing the guard takes place every hour. The procedure takes about 15 minutes. The sentinels who perform the guard are extremely precise in their movements, and their precision is known worldwide and revered as remarkable. And it is remarkable. Oh! We bust over to the Lincoln Memorial, and all of a sudden, Tyler Carter, my grandson, showed up right at the reflecting pool. Yeah, big surprise.
I didn't know I was going to be here.
I did not know you were going to be here. The Lincoln Memorial was being restored, so we couldn't go there. And so we walked over to the Korean Memorial and the Vietnam Memorial. And of course, Tyler and me talking all the time.
Huey, you flew it. Just had a machine gun on the one of the.
Ours were slicks.
Oh,
that means that they were basically taxi cabs for the infantry. And we had a gunner on one side with an M60 and a crew chief on the other side with an M60.
Okay.
And a pilot with a 45 and a co-pilot with a 45, and the windows open, and that's the armament that we had. A lot of gunship work. We got some medevac work. If they had a casualty on the ground, we'd go pick him up and take him to a hospital.
Yeah.
And that was an on-call kind of thing. The other kind of missions we had were lift missions where we'd take a whole unit and move them from one place to another, and that usually took 10 Hueys.
Oh, wow.
All in formation to pick up a load of troops and haul them to some specified place and drop them off.
Right.
And that used to get kind of interesting once in a while because you never knew what you were going to find at the other end.
Yeah.
Sometimes there'd be people waiting for us, and then we'd have to fight our way out.
Yeah.
And that's where the adrenaline kicked in.
Oh, yeah, sure.
For some reason, the Korean Memorial is one of my favorites. It shows a squad of soldiers, American soldiers, walking in the rain, and their facial expressions and their body positions imply deep weariness and sadness. And I was taken by the equipment that they carried, and it just kind of got to me. Got in country on the 12th of July, and was sometime in August when they made me an aircraft commander. And then on September 27th, I got shot and spent 3 months in Japan recovering. And then went back to the same company. You become very attached to your people.
Yeah.
You fly with them day after day. You depend on each of them for everything. Right. You know they come for you if you need them.
Yeah.
That's not a question.
Yeah.
And so you become even closer than brothers, really. I visited the wall for the first time 20 years earlier.
If there's only one panel and you got 115 guys on the panel, that was a bad month.
Scott and I and an associate of ours from Wisconsin all went together. And I found some people I flew with on the wall.
Hugh, Galbraith. Here's another one with an A.
Yeah, could be it.
Badger honor flight, the one that brought us out here from Madison, has done this 58 times.
Wow. Wow.
Since 2004.
That's great.
Or 2005. And that's a lot of flights. Over 5,000
Wow.
veterans have come out of Madison to come here.
That's great.
Thank you, son.
Is your flight all branches of military?
Yes.
All branches.
Yeah. Mostly Army.
Yeah.
Because there's more Army than anything else.
Right. Mostly Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some Korea. Any Korea?
We had four on our flight, but most, let's see, out of 89 veterans that came out here, 75 were Vietnam.
Uh-huh.
It starts right here. There are names on the wall clear to the point.
Well, thank you for your service. Like I say, has a whole special, different meaning here. At
well, it's really
memorial.
nice for you to be here today.
Of course, wouldn't miss it.
For sure. But I see this as the biggest gravestone in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just
Pretty.
every time I see it, I think such a waste. And it was just such a shame.
It does have a different significance when you just see the scale of it.
For sure.
So here's where you went in. This is July of '66.
Okay.
Kind of near the bottom.
Uh-huh.
And it takes all of that at the bottom.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Service.
You bet. Thank you.
Welcome home.
9, 10, 11.
Wow, that's a lot of people. Thank you. You're welcome. That's a lot of people.
12, almost all the way to the bottom.
Okay. Jesus, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Galbraith in here, warrant officer.
See the time.
And a Perkins.
60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There it is.
That's Hugh Seagull.
There you got it. Yep. That's it. We had breakfast together, and he went out on a mission. And that night, I was having dinner with a couple of other pilots from the company.
Yeah.
And we got notified from the flight line that there'd been an aircraft accident. He matched rotor blades with the helicopter I'd been flying that day.
Wow.
He was going in to a revetment right next to mine, and he got over too far, and he pulled the transmission out of the aircraft, and it went forward and cut his head off. And co-pilot that was flying with him, I got to know him very well, flew with him a lot, but he said that particular day, he just felt a jolt and the aircraft went down hard. He looked over and Galbraith's head wasn't there. The transmission was sitting on his shoulders right over the top of the seat.
Sheesh.
Happened that quick. He never even knew what happened.
Here's William Perkins, warrant officer from Jackson, Mississippi. And
Is there a Banks in the same area?
there's Banks.
Yeah.
They would be right together.
Yeah, they were
Yep.
alphabetical within the day.
Yes.
Oh,
So it's the same day.
Same
Yep.
accident.
That was such a damn shame. They had checked out a helicopter, a gunship, to go from Benoit to Saigon, 15 miles,
Yeah.
to turn in their hold baggage. They were going home.
Wow.
They were turning in their hold baggage to go home a week later, and one of the pins came out of the tail boom, and it pulled sideways, and the aircraft crashed into the ground. It couldn't even fly. All four of them died instantly there.
Wow.
I just look at it and I say, Jesus, 58,000 young Americans, most of them weren't even 25 years old,
Yeah.
gone over a 10-year period. And for what? It turns out for nothing. First war that America ever lost. But that's America.
Yeah.
We are what we are. I'm proud to be here. Sad for all the mistakes we've made.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy with the things we've done right. And there's been a lot of them too.
Yep.
On balance, couldn't want to have lived any other place.
Yeah. Well, I'm very thankful for your service, Grandpa. And this is
man. It's so good
Proud
to
of
see you
you.
here today. I'm going to tell your mother.
Really good to see you too.
Really happy to see you.
Yeah.
We visited 3 other memorials that day. The next one was the World War II memorial. I was too young for the war, but my Uncle Robert was in the war. He was a paratrooper in the Pacific area. He parachuted into the Philippines ahead of MacArthur's return, and he parachuted into one of the first to parachute into Japan after they quit the war. He didn't know what he was going to find when he got there. Nobody did, because they didn't know how the civilian population would react after all those years of fighting. And he found them to be very submissive and kind. And then there was the Air Force Memorial. The final visit was where one of the airplanes crashed into the Pentagon, and that was the newest memorial. I think it was only 12 years old. Then we got on the airplane and went back to Wisconsin. Along the way, we were handed packets of mail that had been prepared for us.
Milk. Mail call.
It's mail call. One of the most favorite things soldiers in the field look forward to. And so we're simulating mail call here. I'm just getting started with mine now. I have no idea what's in there. Here's one from Molly O, and that's the yellow lab in the Rapid City Marlowe family. And it says, take a bow. Because, wow, congratulations. Thank you for your service. Bark, bark, woof, woof. Molly O. Here's John and Rose. There's one from Jim. It's fascinating. Congratulations, Colonel Green. Thank you for your service, Jim Marlowe. How do you beat that?
That's pretty big.
And since I can remember, proud of your service and thought how cool it is to have a grandpa who served in Vietnam and flew helicopters. Only in my adult years have I come to appreciate the weight of your service. And then it goes on.
It's very nice.
Very, very nice. Wonderful. When we landed in Madison, the specialness of the day continued. And when we finally got to the escalator taking us down to the ground floor, I was escorted down the escalator by a couple of soldiers. And when I looked down the escalator to the first floor, the floor was crowded with volunteers and Badger honor flight personnel. And it was just very special. The final event of the day, it just put a cherry on the top. It was one of the best days of my life. And I'm very, very grateful to all the people that helped to make it happen. Always be grateful.